Hi, I'm back. I'm just going to talk about here the some of the things that happened with surgery, donating my kidney, and how I'm feeling 5 days out from that surgery. So I had the surgery last Friday, and today's Wednesday. So I went in Friday morning, um, and you have to prep the day before. So you have to drink that stuff that makes you poop. So they want you pretty much cleared out for the surgery, so that's kind of bowels kind of pushed out of the way for your surgery. So you do that, and unfortunately that made me very sick. So I vomited that up. So I was kind of starting out maybe not on a great foot because from there I couldn't eat. From 12 o'clock the day before the surgery, you can't 12 p.m. lunchtime. You have to take this prep and you can't eat. So you're just able to drink clear liquids and nothing after midnight. So that's what I did, and the surgery was at 9ish, so they wanted me there at 6:45. So my husband had to drop me off because they're not allowed in. He could have waited. He could have come in and waited in the waiting room, but it just would have been 3, 4 hours. In retrospect, it would have been 7, 8 hours of hell for him to do that. So I sent him to work because he, was kept busier there. And the nurses called him and updated him when I was out of surgery and that everything went well. So nurses asked me for his number. The nurses and doctor before the surgery were very, very kind and encouraging, and made me very aware of how everything was going to go down. I did tell the anesthesiologist that I get nauseous with anesthesia. It may be something you want to do anyway, because just tell them. In the past, have had problems with getting nauseous with anesthesia because I tell you what, I'm not sure if they didn't give me the medicine during the anesthesia, but I woke up. I probably got out of the surgery at 12 o'clock. I didn't wake up till 5 o'clock, and by that time I was vomiting. So here you are laying back in a bed and you are asking for a vomit tray and you're trying to vomit, but you have nothing in you and you have a fresh incision. And quite frankly, no one was helping me. They decided, even though I was vomiting, they were going to take me up to my room, which took way later to get into. So just if you're close enough to the hospital, until they say she's going in her room now, I wouldn't even go because Joe came to the hospital at 1 and had to wait till almost 6 o'clock to get to see me in my room. So anyway, I know he didn't mind, and I was sleeping, so I didn't know. But this nausea was, it was the worst. I think it's just the worst thing that can happen because you're trying to throw up, and anytime you have surgery on your abdomen, can't you can't cough, you can't sneeze, you can't blow your nose, you can't laugh, and so vomiting is about the worst thing that could happen. So many people this wouldn't happen to. I've never seen it happen on any of the videos I've seen. I'm just giving you a heads up, and I don't think it hurts anything to have them put medicine in your um, anesthesia to keep you from vomiting. So maybe it had just worn off, to be honest, to be fair. By the time I got back to the room, I had a nurse not helping me at all, completely just looking at me like, what is this person vomiting coming into her room? And finally, within a few minutes, my husband came in and I told him, I don't even think you want to be here for this because I'm like writhing in pain, it's just awful vomiting. So coming off that subject, she kicked him out right away anyway. So he had waited all this time, and then the visiting hours were only till 6. I think they should have been more flexible with me because I was in such a bad state to keep my loved one there. And I really think that if you can stay overnight with your loved one, do not leave them. I know this COVID keeps a whole different perspective, but with him leaving at 6 o'clock and him not coming back until 10 o'clock the next day, was the worst time I've ever had in my life, ever in my life, because they would they gave me nausea medicine that helped a little, but it would come back, and they would never come into my room unless I called them in. They never brought me. They would bring pain meds once in a while, but I mostly had to ask them for them because coming up to about a half hour before your pain meds wear off, you're back in serious pain. So to have to call for medicine on your own behalf, to call for a glass of ice water. Um, I don't want to scare anyone away from donation. I'm just telling you my story. The nursing staff was the most uncompassionate, non-helpful, discouraging staff in a hospital, and made my hospital experience the worst experience. I've had a couple other things done in the hospital. I've even had my appendix and gallbladder taken out, and nothing compared to this because the nurses were compassionate. These nurses, I don't know why they're nurses. They would come in with no kind expression, acting like I'm putting them out of their way to come and give me pain meds and nausea meds, and I even at some point didn't have water, and I'm trying to call them, and they're not even answering. So it was just it was basically a night of being awake all night. The night nurse did have me walk a couple times, which I had read it was very, very important when you are after surgery, because you're trying to get the gas out of your body, because they put gas to pump up your stomach into a balloon so they can do the laparoscopic and get the robotics in there to do the laparoscopic surgery. So this is one of the incision, but also this gas comes on you, and if you haven't been walking, it's worse. So by the after 2 walks and by the morning, I am completely in pain. I can barely function at this point. The nurse that was there the day before that wasn't helpful is now my nurse again. So the night nurse was it was a young guy nurse that had no time for me. Just matter of fact, I don't know what happened to nursing, but the other nurse came in, and again, I couldn't get a hold of her. I asked her if I was getting a breakfast tray at like 10 in the morning, and she said, I paged her. And just like, can I get some water? And they're mad at me because I couldn't drink the salty potassium stuff in a glass. Now they have to give it to me in my IV. In the middle of this, my husband comes and he is seeing his wife completely in a panic attack on the bed. I literally I was in pain. My anxiety was rising. I was having crazy thoughts like, what did I just do to myself? Should I have donated a kidney? What if I'm never better? I was just thinking all these crazy things. In the meantime, a resident is coming in and out who looks like he has no idea what he's doing, and he's mad at me because I'm not eating. And he sees my tray of food there, and he's saying, you have to eat or we can't discharge you. I'm like, do I have to be discharged? I'm thinking, I have to go home? Like, I'm already, in retrospect, it was the best thing ever. But he kept coming back, and he's like, well, you have to eat. It's one of the things on the list of protocols to get you out of this hospital. And this was very important to him, and it was very frustrating that I wasn't eating to him. So he would leave with he was so unconfident and just completely inept that I would look at Joe when this doctor left, and we were just like dumbfounded at this guy. And he wasn't even my surgeon. He was just like on the transplant floor. I thought, who is doing the hiring at this hospital? It was just so at this point, I just want to get out of there now because no one's helping me anyway. I'm nauseous again. They're trying to make me eat. I'm just get me home where someone cares about me. So I finally get discharged. I have to ask for pain meds so I can leave because I thought I got an hour drive home and I have to deal with the pain. So finally they gave me that, and the nicest person at the hospital was the guy that wheeled me out in the wheelchair. So I'm just telling you probably worst case scenario that would happen after donating your kidney. And I do not want to discourage anyone because let me tell you this, when I got in the car and finally got comfortable on that ride and my pain was maintained at that point, I felt pretty good. I looked on Facebook and saw so many encouraging posts. I mean, it just changed everything for me. All that anxiety I had was only being caused by the hospital for the 2 days. So they'll tell you you might have this sense of, you know, what have I done? Now you're in pain. What have I done to my body? Should I have given my kidney away? All these things. I never thought I would think that because I'm the one that did this process and I knew pretty much what to expect. I think honestly, it was just made awful by the nursing staff and the resident there. There was a woman that came in and gave me a certificate, and she had also been a donor. And she told me I did a wonderful thing, and that felt good. But in the meantime, I saw all these other patients just going around the hallway by themselves walking. Maybe that's just a thing that you do now. I always thought nurses should be walking with you. I would think it's a liability for the hospital if you fall. And walking hurts because it's the last thing you want to do, but you know you have to do it because you have this gas building up in your body and it's not coming out. So it's coming up to your upper ribs, it's coming up to your shoulders, and it's so extremely important for you to walk. In the meantime, the night that I was there, they had put these. They look like I don't know, white plastic sock things. They put them on you and they turn it on the machine and it massages your legs so you don't get blood clots. And they never turned it on. So I had these things sweating on my legs all night and never had turned them on. So, but I was so out of it, you know, I didn't know that. I'm just looking back and thinking of all the things that were just so crazy. And so I am not saying that being a donor is the single greatest thing I've done. I already know that, and it took a lot, and I'm recovering quick. So let's just get back to that. When I got home, I felt a million times better. So they say you're gonna stay a day or two. Go home the next day if you can, because none of the healing happens at the hospital. They're just not designed either to be the encouraging people for a donor who is completely out of their own compassion gone and given a kidney to be treated the way I was treated. I didn't expect any special treatment. I just expected to be cared for while I was there until they discharged me. And the complete opposite happened. So I have no idea, maybe I just got the luck of the draw because there's amazing nurses out there. It just wasn't these people. And I feel bad for anyone who's donating and has to go in there out of their own accord and be treated that badly and go through that much sickness and pain for a day until they're discharged. And I'll be telling my doctor about this too on Friday because I wouldn't even recommend to that hospital for anyone to donate because of that experience. If that happened to them, I would feel awful for encouraging them to donate. You know, you see what I'm doing here? It is not fair for anyone to go into that hospital after donating and being treated like that. Or if you're a recipient, this is a transplant floor. They should know the pain and the situation with donors and recipients and the mental health stuff. When I brought up that I had anxiety, my nurse said, it's okay, everything's okay. Our nurse is not trained in any compassion toward anxiety. It's a natural part of having surgery. Anyway, I'm going to stop that now. And what I'm going to talk to you about is the 5 days since surgery. The first night was tough. I'm a side sleeper. You can only sleep on your back. There's no comfortable place to sleep, and your head is at a weird thing. But what I would do is set your alarm every 4 hours for your pain meds. I took my pain meds the first night at 6 p.m., 10 p.m., 2 p.m. and 6 p.m., 6 a.m., 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. So every 4 hours overnight, I set my alarm, because if you get behind the pain, it's harder to control it. Just don't do that to yourself. So I've been doing that every night. By the second night, I was able to prop a pillow on my incision and another pillow in between my legs, and really get comfortable on both sides. The first night was just the anti-surgery side, and then the next night I was already able to lay on the side with the surgery. All this because of this pillow. Why the nurses don't tell you to get a pillow like this? In fact, most transplant places have pillows in the shape of a kidney for that reason, to push up against it, because it's a lifesaver. My incision's on my lower left side. I'm pressing it here. It's a lifesaver. So basically, make sure you have a small pillow. And I know they have liver-shaped ones for liver recipients. They have heart-shaped ones for heart. Nothing like that. And they never even told me about that. So thankfully, I figured it out pretty quick. I remembered because I had watched videos about that pillow. Also, I don't know where my kidney is. I don't know who is got it, but if you're an altruistic donor, you have to be okay with that. And the other thing is eating. Start slow. Do very bland things and things in small amounts and more liquids, and keep hydrated. Also, not supposed to take any NSAIDs, which are ibuprofen, Advil, Motrin, anything like that you can't take anymore because it's bad for your kidneys. So now you only have one kidney. So keep hydrated. Move around your house. Get up and go to the bathroom. Push your pillow on your incision before you sit down to go potty. Take it with you everywhere around the house. Walking around is the best thing I've done. That has gotten rid of the gas, and in the 5th day here, I feel good. I feel like I'm getting sleep, and I'm starting to get that feeling like I see how fast I'm going to recover from this, and I'm going to put that nursing situation at the hospital completely by my side. But in order to not experience that I would say have your loved ones stay with you. Insist on staying with you. If they're not flexible, I think another hospital would be more flexible about this. This is a giant hospital in downtown Chicago, and they just don't want to deal with other people. But what I needed was someone there to advocate for me when I was out of my mind in pain and didn't even know what I needed to ask for. When I needed the fresh water, when I needed just encouragement. Make sure you have a loved one stay with you to be your advocate at the hospital. And donate. Donate. Because you know what? It's the best gift I've ever given anyone. I've saved someone's life, more than one person, at least 3 people so far. I've saved their life. So how could even this little bad experience compare to that? And this will all be a distant memory. I am taking a month off work. I am a hairdresser, Reiki master. I am not working for a month. I'm giving myself that time because I'm 52 and I need more time to recover before a job that's more physical like that. So I'm giving myself a month. And until then, you just can't lift anything heavy. And stay on your pain meds. But as soon as you can, start weaning off those. Don't go off those abruptly. Cut the pills into like half, when you're going every 4 hours, then maybe a quarter, you know what I mean? Just cut back on it slowly because you could get like a pretty bad headache. And that's about all I have. Smoothies have been a great thing because they're getting my nutrients. I have some superfoods I put in there, and like super greens, powder, and I put that in there, and that also keeps your bowels going. You have to take the stool softener regularly, and you should be taking Miralax. I'm just remembering this after 5 days, so I'm going to go downstairs and make my Miralax. anyway, being home is much better on the recovery end of it. You can sleep at home. At the hospital, they have people coming in that aren't your nurse, but they come in all the time to take your vital signs. And so if you finally start sleeping, they're waking you up. So it's just a nightmare to be in the hospital. I had a bad experience. Not everyone will have that experience, but have someone with you as your advocate, and you know, tell them what you need at the hospital, because you know they're there for you. And hopefully different hospitals with different transplants situations would be better than what they did care-wise. So anyway, that's 5 days in. I'll get back to you guys next week sometime. And after my doctor's appointment, I may know more about my recipient. Let's hope.